Today we're going to work on subtracting rational numbers, and for our first day or our first lesson we are going to focus on integers only. We are going to look at subtracting positive and negative numbers. We already talked about rules for working with positive and negative numbers. So far we've already done addition. And if you look at this diagram, it shows you a visual model that's color-coded. At the top, it says if we're adding two positive numbers together, our answer is positive. The reason that the circle at the end is larger, it represents that your answer increases when you add these two together. The same is true when you add two negative numbers together. The answer is negative, and it's also larger because you're combining these two. The bottom two examples show what we discussed in class the other day. When you have a positive and a negative, the answer is determined by whichever number is the largest. So in this example, the larger circle is positive, the smaller circle is negative, which means the answer is going to be positive. The opposite is true for the last example. The two numbers we're trying to combine, a positive and a negative, but in this instance, the negative circle is larger, which means then the answer would also be negative. We're going to apply these rules today when we go through the notes on your handout. If you don't already have your handout, please make sure you pause the video and get this sheet of paper so that you can write down everything for the video to have examples to go back and look at to help you with your assignment. A few people in class mentioned the other day a method called KCC, Keep, Change, Change, and we're actually going to be using this today as one of our strategies for solving these kinds of problems. Example 1 from your notes says 24 subtract negative 3. We are going to go with that method of keep, change, change. So if I wanted to do this, it says rewrite the problem and then solve it on your note sheet. So I'm going to keep 24. I am going to change the subtract sign to be a plus. And then it also says change negative 3, so it's going to turn into a positive 3. Now I'm going to solve the question. I just have simply two positive numbers, 24 plus 3, which would be 27. Example 2 from the handout says negative 17 minus negative 5. If we go with that same method of keep, change, change, I would keep negative 17. I would change this subtraction symbol to be addition. And then I would also change negative 5 to be a positive 5. And for the positive numbers, I'm only writing the digit. I'm not writing another positive sign. We could use this example that we have over here, this color-coded guide for determining if your answer is positive or negative. In this example, we have one negative number and one positive number. So that means we could look at either one of these two bottom rows to help us determine if the answer is positive or negative. If I label these, 17 is negative and 5 is positive. Which one of those do you guys think is larger? Okay, 17 is larger. That's the bigger number. That also tells me that in the end, my answer has to be negative. When you look at these two numbers, it's pretty easy to solve this mentally. 17 minus 5. And the reason I'm going to subtract them is because I have different signs. Anytime the signs are different, we need to subtract. 17 minus 5 is 12. And we already determined that the answer was going to be negative because our biggest number in the question was negative. The third example on your page says -5 subtract 5. This one looks a little different from the last two we tried, but we're still going to use the method of keep, change, change. If you do that, we're going to keep -9. I'm going to change the subtract sign to be a positive plus sign. And then I'm also going to change +5 now to become a -5. So review that one more time. We're keeping -9. I'm changing the subtract to be addition. And I'm changing, this is only +5, to now become -5. Once you do that, we have two negative numbers. If you look over at your model, it says two negative numbers also equal negative. I'm going to go ahead and put a negative sign in my answer, and then all I need to do is add 9 plus 5, which is 14, and the answer would be -14. Last example on your page is exactly like the one we did previously. If we do the method of keep, change, change, I should keep -38. Then I'm going to change the subtract sign to be add. And then I'm also going to change +46 to be -46. You could look over at your model if you needed to. It says two negative numbers. We're going to add them together and they're going to stay negative. I could go ahead and put for my answer that it's going to be negative. This one I need to add them together. It may not be quite as easy to do mentally, so I'm just going to set it up. 8 plus 6 is 14. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 4 more is 8. So now I know my answer is -84. Make sure that you guys are putting that sheet of notes in your binder, in your math binder. It should be hole punched for you, and when we do binder checks, this paper should be in there. So make sure you're putting it in your math binder. Your homework sheet is going to be this. It says lesson 1.4, subtracting rational numbers. And if you need any of those clues, look back at your notes. Remember, this assignment is due tomorrow when you come back to class.